Rams house, there is a lot happening around this team right now. And I'm not gonna lie, this is exactly the kind of week that gets you thinking about what this roster could really look like once the season gets rolling. There are some decisions happening behind the scenes that could have a much bigger impact than they seem to right now, especially with the Rams carrying real Super Bowl expectations into this season. And today, we've actually got two Rams stories to get into, and both of them are worth your attention because they could affect the roster in very different ways. Before we get into it, if you're a real Rams fan, hit that like button for me and subscribe to Rams House Daily. I'm Jake and this channel is still new, so we're trying to build this community from the ground up and get to our first 500 subscribers. If you truly believe this Rams team can make a run all the way to the Super Bowl, subscribe and be part of Rams House from the beginning. Because when this team is making noise later this year, I want to know we were here together from day one. Bleacher Report is actually suggesting that the Rams could consider trading tight end Colby Parkinson. And I know that might sound crazy at first. I mean, this is a guy coming off the best season of his career, and the Rams themselves described 2025 as a career year for Parkinson. So why would you even think about moving him now? Well, the answer comes down to money, roster depth, and one massive question hanging over this team right now. Could Aaron Donald actually return? Christopher Knox of Bleacher Report named one preseason trade candidate for every NFL team, and for the Rams, his choice was Colby Parkinson. The idea is pretty simple. Parkinson is entering a contract year, and according to Bleacher Report, trading him could create about $5.5 million in additional salary cap space. That is not a small number when you're trying to build a championship roster. The Rams entered this week with about $17.3 million in available cap space, but that number could become a lot more important if Aaron Donald decides to come out of retirement. According to Pro Football Talk's Mike Florio, Donald is expected to make his decision by the end of this week. And if he does come back, Los Angeles would suddenly have another major financial decision to work around before Week 1. Let me be clear about something. The Rams do not have to trade Colby Parkinson just to bring Aaron Donald back. But when you're trying to maximize every dollar on a roster that believes it can compete for a Super Bowl, you have to at least consider every option. And that's where this gets complicated. Because Parkinson isn't just some expendable player sitting at the bottom of the depth chart. He had a huge role last season. Parkinson finished 2025 with career highs of 43 receptions, 408 receiving yards, and 8 touchdowns. Those 8 touchdown catches actually set a single-season franchise record for a Rams tight end. That's a big deal. And Sean McVay's offense used him in a way that made him genuinely important. The Rams leaned heavily on 3 tight 10 formations last season, using 13 personnel on 30.5% of their offensive snaps. According to Next Gen Stats via ESPN's Matt Bowen, that was more than double the next closest team in the NFL. So, when you hear someone say, just trade Parkinson and clear the money, I think it's fair for Rams fans to push back a little bit. Because you're not simply moving a contract, you're potentially moving a player who already proved he can contribute in Sean McVay's system. And that's why I think this is such an interesting decision for Les Snead, Sean McVay, and the entire Rams organization. At the same time, you can understand why Bleacher Report believes it's possible. Look at the tight end room. The Rams brought Tyler Higbee back on a 2-year deal. They also still have Terrence Ferguson, the 2025 second-round pick, who caught 11 passes for 231 yards and 3 touchdowns as a rookie. And then the Rams made another significant investment at the position in the 2026 NFL Draft. They selected Max Clare in the second round after he caught 43 passes for 448 yards at Ohio State last season. After the draft, McVay said the Rams plan to continue building around their multiple to 10 packages, and he praised Clare as someone who could fit right into the group. That's important because it tells us the Rams aren't moving away from this style of offense. They clearly value tight ends, but they may have enough depth now that moving one veteran becomes a realistic conversation. The Rams' official website later described the tight end group as deep and experienced, with the 4 primary returning tight ends combining for 103 receptions, 1,128 yards, and 17 touchdowns last season. So yeah, Rams house. There is a lot of talent in that room. And that is exactly why Parkinson becomes an intriguing trade candidate. Not necessarily because the Rams don't value him. It could actually be the opposite. He has value. He's coming off a career year. He's 27 years old. He's entering a contract year, and if another team believes he can continue producing at that level, the Rams could potentially get something meaningful in return while also creating $5.5 million in cap space. But then we come back to Aaron Donald, because that's the elephant in the room. Mike Florio reported that Donald's decision timeline had shifted toward the end of this week, and if he does return, the Rams would reportedly target somewhere around 30 to 40 snaps for him in the Week 1 opener. Just imagine that for a second. Aaron Donald potentially coming back to this Rams defense, even in a limited role, changes the conversation completely. And if the Rams are serious about getting him back, every dollar matters. That's why Parkinson's name is suddenly interesting. The Rams can keep him. They can maintain that 3 tight end identity that worked so well last season. They can keep a player who just produced the best numbers of his career. Or they can look at the depth behind him, make a difficult decision, clear some money, and potentially use that flexibility somewhere else on a roster with championship expectations. Personally, I would not look at this as an automatic sign that Parkinson is getting traded. I think it's more of a reminder that when you're this close to competing for a Super Bowl, even good players can become part of difficult roster decisions. And now we have our second Rams story, and this one is completely different, but it's another roster move worth knowing about. The Los Angeles Rams have signed cornerback Zach McPherson to the roster as a free agent. McPherson is 28 years old and was originally a 4th-round pick by the Philadelphia Eagles back in 2021. After the draft, he signed a 4-year rookie contract with Philadelphia. He appeared in all 17 games for the Eagles in 2022 and recorded 14 tackles, 1 sack, and a pass defense. But his career took a difficult turn when he tore his Achilles before the 2023 season. That injury forced him onto injured reserve, and he missed the entire year. Then, during roster cuts in 2024, Philadelphia released him. McPherson eventually caught on with the Jacksonville Jaguars, spending the 2024 season on their practice squad. The Jaguars then re-signed him to a futures deal for the 2025 season, and he spent some time on their practice squad again. Now he's getting another opportunity, this time with the Rams. And honestly, this is exactly the kind of depth move that makes sense for Los Angeles at this point in the offseason. You're bringing in a former 4th-round pick who has NFL experience, who's still only 28, and you're giving him another chance to compete for a roster spot. Obviously, this doesn't mean McPherson is suddenly guaranteed a major role in the Rams' defense. That's not what this signing tells us. But it does give the Rams another experienced body in the secondary, and another player who has already been through the grind of an NFL season. And I actually like these kinds of moves because they're low-risk opportunities to find someone who might surprise you. Sometimes a player gets buried on one roster, deals with an injury, loses his spot, spends time on a practice squad, and then gets another opportunity somewhere else. McPherson's path has definitely been that kind of journey. He went from a 4th-round pick in Philadelphia to playing all 17 games in 2022 to losing an entire season because of the Achilles injury, then spending time with Jacksonville, and now he's getting a shot with the Rams. For McPherson, this is a chance to restart his career, and for the Rams, it's another opportunity to add competition and depth without making some massive commitment. So when you put both stories together, I think they tell us something pretty important about where this Rams roster is right now. Los Angeles is operating like a team that expects to compete. Every decision matters. The Colby Parkinson situation is about whether the Rams want to preserve a proven piece of Sean McVay's offense or potentially create financial flexibility, especially with Aaron Donald's future potentially being decided very soon. And the Zach McPherson signing is about adding another experienced player who can compete for a role and provide depth. That's what championship roster building looks like. It's not always about making the flashy move. Sometimes it's about figuring out which pieces you absolutely need, which pieces you can replace, and where you can create enough flexibility to make the entire roster stronger. In Rams house, that's why I'm watching this Aaron Donald situation so closely. Because if Donald comes back, suddenly every conversation about the roster gets more interesting. And if he doesn't, then the Rams have to make different decisions about how they want to allocate their resources heading into the season. As for Colby Parkinson, I wouldn't be shocked if his name continues to come up as we get closer to Week 1. Again, I don't think this means a trade is definitely happening. But the combination of his contract situation, the $5.5 million in potential cap savings, the depth at tight end, and the uncertainty surrounding Aaron Donald makes this something worth watching, and that's where I'm at with it. I love what Parkinson brought to this offense last season. You don't just casually move a guy who caught 8 touchdown passes and set a franchise record for a Rams tight end, but I also understand the bigger picture. If Sean McVay and Les Snead believe they can replace that production with Tyler Higbee, Terrence Ferguson, Max Clare, and the rest of this deep tight end group, then maybe that financial flexibility becomes too valuable to ignore. And if Aaron Donald really is coming back, you better believe Rams fans are going to be watching every one of these roster decisions a lot more closely. This is a team with Super Bowl expectations. There is no room for wasting opportunities. And that's what makes this part of the offseason so exciting. Every move matters now. Every roster spot matters. Every dollar matters. And honestly, that's the kind of pressure I want on this team. Because after everything the Rams have built, the expectation shouldn't simply be to have a good season. The expectation is to compete for the Lombardi Trophy. So let me know what you think, Rams House. Would you actually trade Colby Parkinson for the $5.5 million in cap savings, especially if Aaron Donald returns? Or do you keep Parkinson because of how important he was to Sean McVay's offense last season? And what do you think about bringing in Zach McPherson? Does he have a legitimate shot to make this roster? Drop your thoughts in the comments because I really want to hear where Rams fans stand on this. And if you enjoyed the video, hit that like button for me and subscribe to Rams House Daily. We're still a new channel. And we're trying to build this thing from the ground up with Rams fans who actually care about this team. Our first goal is 500 subscribers. So if you genuinely believe in this Rams team, if you believe Sean McVay and this roster can get back to the Super Bowl, then come join us. Let's build Rams House Daily together. And hopefully, we're looking back on all these off-season decisions later this year, knowing they were part of something special, because that's the goal. Super Bowl or nothing. Let's go Rams.